Order. Now call the Standing Committee on Public Accounts to order. My name is Kelly Regan. I'm the MLA for Bedford Basin and chair of this committee. A reminder to everyone here at the committee to place your phones on silent. And I will ask committee members to introduce themselves, beginning with Mr. Young.
Morning, everybody. Nolan Young, MLA for Shelburne.
MLA Taggart.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Tom Taggart, MLA for Colchester North.
MLA McDonald.
Good morning. Johnny McDonald, MLA for Hants East.
MLA Sheehy-Richard.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Melissa Sheehy-Richard. I'm the MLA for Hants West.
MLA LeBlanc.
Good morning. Susan LeBlanc, MLA for Dartmouth North.
MLA Lachance.
Hi, I'm Lisa Lachance, MLA for Halifax, Citadel, Sable Island.
MLA McGuire.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you. Brendan McGuire, Halifax Atlantic.
And MLA Barkhouse.
Good morning, everyone. Danielle Barkos, MLA for Chester St. Margaret's, and thank you for coming.
I will note that officials from the Auditor General's office, in fact, the Auditor General herself, as well as Legislative Council office and Legislative Committee's office, are in attendance as well. On today's agenda, we have officials with us from the Department of Service Nova Scotia with respect to the Heating Assistance Rebate Program. And I will ask the witnesses to introduce themselves, beginning with the witness on the far right, Mr. O'Toole.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gary O'Toole. I'm the Associate Deputy Minister for Service Nova Scotia.
Deputy Munro.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Deputy Munro with Service Nova Scotia.
Mr. Gregg.
Hello, Rodger, Gregg, Executive Director, Service Nova Scotia.
And Mr. Rainforth.
Good morning, Adam Rainforth, Executive Director of Finance, supporting Service Nova Scotia.
And now, Deputy Munro, I invite you to make your remarks.
Thank you, and good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. Before we start, I do want to introduce just two other special colleagues with us today, key staff in the audience. Melissa Mosher, Director of Consumer Programs, and Barry McCarthy, Manager of Consumer Protection. Madam Chair, we are pleased to be here to discuss the Heating Assistance Rebate Program, or HARP as we call it, and to answer questions. HARP is an excellent example of the mission behind everything that we do at Service Nova Scotia, which is to deliver quality, responsive programs that help Nova Scotians. We have 10 divisions responsible for 34 pieces of legislation, 71 sets of regulations, 13 Access Nova Scotia centers offering public services, land registry services, contact center, business licensing and permitting, and so much more, plus many internal services for our government partners. Our Business and Consumer Services team, which oversees programs like HARP, are committed to putting Nova Scotians first. They work hard to make sure programs like HARP will help Nova Scotians as much as possible. We take great pride in how these programs are delivered, whether it's in person through our access centers or online. We all know how important heating is, and we know that the cost of heat continues to be a challenge for many Nova Scotians. Nova Scotia has a long history of offering rebate programs for home heating. There were two programs that preceded HARP, starting in 1999 with the Low Income Fuel Assistance Program, which offered $50 rebate for oil heat. In 2004, it was replaced with the Keep the Heat program, which increased the size of the rebate and expanded on the types of heating fuel that were covered. This Heating Assistance Rebate Program was first launched in 2008. For most of its existence, HARP was offered, or has offered, a $200 rebate for all types of home heating fuel. Last year, recognizing the challenges that Nova Scotians were facing, the province announced a one-time top-up, making HARP a $1,000 rebate for the 22-23 fiscal year. And it also increased the income eligibility to $85,000 as a one-time measure. This year, government approved a $600 rebate and changed the income thresholds to $55,000 for single income households and $75,000 for families. Each year, we reassess the program to ensure that it meets the needs of Nova Scotians. We do the same with all our rebate programs. We deliver a number of programs on behalf of the province, and over the years, we've learned a lot about how to deliver them more effectively and in ways that are easy to access. In recent years, we created a simple online application that includes the ability to check the status of your application to see if you've been approved. We offer direct deposit. Nearly 85% of our applicants use this, and they get their rebate faster. We've also given seniors the ability to opt into the program via the property tax rebate for seniors. If an applicant has questions that can't be resolved by our contact center, we certainly escalate their inquiry to support staff because we want to ensure that they get the answers that they need. Our staff also conducts a range of surveys, user testing, and data analysis to better understand the experience of applicants, all in an effort to improve the process and experience. To ensure that Nova Scotians know when to apply, we reach out to the applicants using methods we've used to communicate with them in the past, previously to let them know when the program's open for applications. And to ensure that all Nova Scotians have access to information about their program, we provide fact sheets in 7 different languages, including English, French, Arabic, Spanish, Farsi, Mandarin, and Mi'kmaq. If people have questions in English and French, we can provide information through our contact center. To date, for the 23-24 season, we've had an unprecedented number of applications with 103,902 total approved applicants and counting, including over 41,000 who were first-time applicants to the program as at January 8th. The sheer volume of applicants has resulted in some processing delays. Some applications can be approved quickly when all information is filled in properly. Other times, our staff may need to follow up. This happens when someone's income isn't verified by the Canada Revenue Agency, for example. Next year, we hope that the processing speed will be quicker, given that many who are applying under our new income thresholds will be in their 3rd year and their application may be auto-approved. As we move forward, we'll continue to elevate all aspects of the program to ensure, or evaluate all aspects of the program to ensure that we're giving Nova Scotians the help they need when they need it, and we're delivering rebates as efficiently and as effectively as possible. So we are happy now, thank you, to take your questions. The team and I look forward to the discussion.
Okay, so each caucus will have 20 minutes, and then we'll divvy up the remaining time. We will be cutting off questions at 10:30 because we actually have quite a bit of committee business to deal with. So we will begin with the Liberal caucus and Mr. Maguire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. So when it comes to the HARP program, we saw a decrease in almost 50% from this year to last year. So it was $1,000, and then it's 60%, or sorry, $600. That's 40%. It's pretty simple math. 40% decrease in the HARP program, right? The cost of food in Nova Scotia in 2022-23 has gone up 13.1%. Highest in the country, one of the highest in the country. January 1st, at the beginning of January, all Nova Scotians across this province got a good kick in the backside with was a 14% increase in power rates, right? People are now getting their assessments on their homes, and we're seeing them online. And I'll give you an example of a lady from my community, Leslie, whose home was assessed at just around $300,000. Nothing was done to her home. She received a $110,000 increase in her assessment. So we know the property taxes are going up. Over the holidays, I ran into some of the senior bureaucrats from HRM, and one of the things that was said to me was the property taxes need to go up double digits every single year. And what this individual told me, who is involved in this, is close to 20% a year is what they need to do. So this is just an HRM. We're seeing this right across municipalities where the property taxes are going up. I would argue that services aren't going up 20%. I just heard on the radio in here today, we have the lowest police officer per capita in Canada now. And we are in the middle of another snowstorm, and another snowstorm, and another snowstorm, and we're now seeing the service levels for snow removal from the province and municipalities have gone up. They used to be, your roads would be plowed within 24 hours. Now we've got this 48-hour thing. So the reason I say this is amongst all these increases, the cost of food is out of control. Out of control. I do the grocery shopping in my home for the most part. And the cost has gone through the roof. The cost of power has gone up 14%. How can you reasonably and ethically decrease the HARP program by 40% for people whose money is not going as far as it used to be, who every single bill that's coming into their home is going up? What was the reasoning and what was the rationale with decreasing it 40%?
Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. Last year's rebate, so first I'd like to say we understand that many Nova Scotians are challenged with the affordability crisis and obviously energy costs. And in fact, the affordable crisis is right across the country. As I said earlier, we certainly review the program annually. $1,000 last year was offered as a one-time boost during, again, a very difficult time, and we're still in a very difficult time. I do get that, and Nova Scotians are struggling. The program, our job is to provide options as part of that review, options to government. I can say that the $600, again, it's a one-time. Every year we're reviewing the program, but it is 3 times what it has been for 17 years prior to that.
MLA McGuire.
So I don't mean to interrupt, well, I do mean to interrupt, but I want to debunk some of these things that you're saying here. When we talk about cost of living in Nova Scotia, and we talk about programs in Nova Scotia, some of the things that we constantly hear from people that sit in this committee and appear before us is right across the country. You are not the Minister of, the Deputy Minister of Service Nova Scotia for Canada. You're the Deputy Minister of Nova Scotia. Every single person around this table represents Nova Scotians. The Premier himself has said, I'm all about Nova Scotia, and rightfully so. He should be. Nova Scotia should be his #1 priority. You said this year is worse than last, the last year, we did this because last year was so terrible. And we've heard this time and time again. This year is worse than last year. This year is actually more expensive than last year. Things didn't go down, they went up. So the rationale that last year was so bad that we had to give a one-time $1,000 rebate doesn't hold water. Because this year, by your own logic and by the logic of this government, and I know you put options forward, it should actually be more. And the other thing is that we put options to government. And so I just want to keep this simple, quick, and so did you actually put an option forward to government to keep the HARP program at $1,000 or increase it, yes or no?
Deputy Munro.
Thank you. We gave many options, and what I'd like to say is the options are infinite. So we gave every option, and in fact, we have a tool that you can use to actually look at all the options. And that's been very helpful. At the end of the day, government makes the decision. What I would say is, in our analysis, at the $75,000 salary mark, because we had a lot of data last year. We had over 150,000 people apply for that program last year. And so there is a lot of data that is very helpful. But at the $75,000 salary mark, we could actually see the dwindle of people applying. So that was helpful for us to understand where in the threshold, how do we maximize our help to Nova Scotians. And so that was a data point that was very helpful. At the end of the day, we provide options and government needs to make the decision, which they have.
MLA McGuire.
Which I can appreciate. You know, I feel like a senior, you know, I've been doing this for quite some time now, so I understand how everything works for the most part. But so I guess the question was yes or no. I know you said there was all kinds of options we put forward, but I'm just trying to find out, did you put the option forward of keeping the HARP program at $1,000 or increasing it for this year?
Deputy Munro.
That would have been one of the options, yes.
MLA McGuire.
And what, in a time of the highest inflation we've ever seen, the highest housing prices we've ever seen, the highest power rates we've ever seen, the highest assessments on homes we've ever seen, monster property tax increases coming down the pipeline. What was the rationale for not taking or keeping it at $1,000 or increasing it? What was the rationale of decreasing it? Because one of the things we've heard is it allows more people to use it. But the truth is if more people are accessing this or wanting or needing to use it, then that should show to everybody that the $1,000 or increasing it was needed. So what was the rationale of saying, okay, let's decrease this by 40%?
Deputy Munro.
I would say that obviously the options were put forward to government and the decision to come back with the 600. I also like to say that there's other programs for affordability that are out there. We have the PTRS program that we use for seniors. They can opt into the HARP program. We have Seniors Care Grant, which we deliver on behalf of, but the program's owned by Seniors in Long-Term Care. There are the HEAP program for emergency that is funded but offered by Salvation Army. I mean, there is a list of programs that help people on the affordability side. And so HARP is one that is a one-time, and we review it every year, but it's a one-time rebate. We don't want it taxable at all, and so we follow the rules of the CRA. And
Emily McGuire.
Do you ever watch the show Mythbusters? So I'm gonna. This is what I feel like I'm doing right now, because this is the things that gets. And I'm not trying to. Again, like I understand where you're coming from, but you just quoted a whole bunch of programs that, for the most part, when people take advantage of those programs, is because they're at their most desperate, because they can't pay their power bill anymore, because they can't afford. They're about to lose the roof over their head. The HARP program is not one of those programs. The HARP program is kind of like, we understand you need help. We understand that you need you could use a boost. The rest of those programs are emergency programs. And how do I know? Because I represent a community that we do thousands and thousands and thousands of those applicants every year. Every year. And so, I want to say that when I sit here and I hear people say, well, we have the Salvation Army, we have this. The Salvation Army is a one-time thing that you can use if your power is about to be shut off. It's not one of those things that you can go back to the well over and over and over again. And for people to say, like, these are the programs that people need and they can use over and over, it's not true. The HARP program was one of those programs that they could apply to and they could depend on. And the other thing that was kind of cruel about all of this, to be frank, if we're going to talk openly here, is a lot of people expected the $1,000. And a lot of people budgeted for the $1,000. And I got calls all across Nova Scotia, and no exaggeration, from Cape Breton to Yarmouth, where people were saying, where's my other $400? I need that. I need that for food. I need that for clothing. I need that. Where is it? So people weren't told that. They weren't told that this was a one-time thing. Or it wasn't communicated properly. Was there a note that went out, or was there information given directly to every single applicant when they received the $1,000 that this was a one-time thing and next year that this was going to be cut back to $600? Were they made aware of that?
9 minutes, Deputy Munro.
Thank you. Could I ask my colleague Rodger Gregg to chime in on the question? Thank you.
Mr. Gregg?
So I guess you're correct with the HEAT program from the Salvation Army. That's more of an emergency program, and you can't even access the program unless you have arrears with your heating company. So that is definitely, and it's not designed to be something that's accessed regularly. It's to help in sort of urgent situations. The PTRS program, that's half a rebate of half the property tax that you would pay.
I just need to about communication around that.
Emily McGuire? Emily McGuire?
It would be nice if the witness could answer the question.
That wasn't a question I asked.
Thank you, Mr. Taggart.
Sorry.
And I will just say we do allow MLAs to indicate when they have heard enough. I do that for both sides. So, Mr. McGuire.
Yeah.
So, Mr. McGuire.
I'll allow you to finish, sorry.
Mr. Gregg.
Thank you, sorry. So obviously, we don't know, it's year to year. So, when we're setting out the $1,000 rebate, we can't say it's going to be $600 next year. It's year to year, it's a one-time. So we were very clear in our communications that go out that this is a one-time. It was a bump up, especially where it happened mid-program, which is a little unique for HARP. It wasn't as this was set up as a normal thing. It was come mid-program. Team did a lot of work to be able to give bump ups to people who had already received the rebate. But no, it was very much communicated this is a one-time program, and that's what goes through with communications. And then at the same time, we will reach out to previous year recipients. So anyone who received the $1,000 last year, we reach out to them directly to try to get them to apply again. So again, the information is always, as soon as we know what the rebate amount is going to be, that's communicated directly to the recipients from the previous year. And at no point are we going to make commitments that we can't make, that to set expectations. But definitely definitely understand that some people may still think that, or that still feels like a loss for some people, for sure.
MLA McGuire, 7 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in 2022-23, 155,800 people applied for this rebate. How many people applied for it? The $1,000 rebate.
Deputy Munro.
How many people have applied?
MLA McGuire.
Sorry, how many?
This year or last year?
This year.
This year, today, that's in January.
Deputy
sorry.
Munro. Folks, you got to go through the chair? Okay, thanks. Deputy Munro.
As of January 8th, we've had 125,783 applicants. To date, 103,920 have been approved. We've processed around 111,000.
MLA McGuire. And I know one of the things that's going to be said here today, and actually, Deputy, you did say this was, well, it wasn't increased for, so many years and this and that. The truth is that 10 years ago, let's be frank, 10 years ago, things were much cheaper. 10 years ago, if you were in my community, you'd get a 2-bedroom for $700. It's now $1,900 for a 1-bedroom apartment in that community. 10 years ago, you could get a single for $535. Like, people on income assistance were living in the community because they could afford to live in that community. That does not exist anymore. So $300 went a long way. But when rent goes from $535 to $1,900, and this program goes for $300 to $600, it's good. But, it's like saying we increased income assistance by $1 and saying that's the largest increase that this province has seen in 10 years. Like, it's just not, with the cost of living and the way things are going right now, this program should be much more. And I understand that it costs money. But when people live in poverty, when people live in with housing that's not adequate, that has an impact on our healthcare system. That has an impact on all our systems. So if you're looking at this from a dollar and cents standpoint, when people aren't eating, when children aren't eating, when people can't get power, when people are struggling, it does. We know statistically that it leads to healthcare. It can lead to healthcare outcomes that impact our healthcare system, that impact our income assistance system, that do cost us money. So instead of being reactive, I think these type of programs should be proactive. And we should be looking at making sure that this money and this program fits the expenses of today's families. And I don't think it is. Do you think that $600 is enough?
4 minutes, Deputy Munro.
If we go back, the program is for, heating assistance, and I am proud to say that it's 3 times what it had been for 17 years prior to that. And remember, last year, it was a responsive measure. It came midstream. It was announced in January. We turned it around very quickly to get the $1,000 out the door as a measure, because Nova Scotians are struggling. We know that. So, again, every year it's reviewed. Every year we put options forward, decisions then get made, and we put the machine in motion.
MLA McGuire.
And I will give you, your department, and this government credit for the $1,000. It was a great thing to do. It was the right thing to do at the time. So you said 17, it's more, it was. I've been trying to remember. So you said 17 years ago it was 300 and.
2008, it's 2.
Sorry.
Yep, so that's fine.
Folks. So again, I'm going to remind committee members through the chair, please do wait until you're recognized. Deputy Munro.
No, it was on.
Well, it's hard to tell, isn't it? So MLA McGuire, back and forth. MLA McGuire.
Thank you. So my final question for this round is again, we're going to hear this referenced here a lot today about this. It's first time in 17 years, it's doubled. What was the cost of rent 17 years ago? What was the average cost of groceries 17 years ago? What was the power rates 17 years ago, 10 years ago? And I am passionate about this because we deal with this non-stop. And again, like I said, I will give credit for the $1,000. And I will give credit for some of the housing initiatives that are coming out of this government. I'm not here just to bash government, But this is a program that is vital. Like when you take that, when you take to people around this table, $400 may not seem like much. I don't know when the last time people around this table made less than $70,000. But when you take $400 out of the pocket of a family that's struggling, that means this year they're not going to get winter boots, or they're not going to get a winter jacket. That means they can't afford groceries. That means their kids can't afford to play hockey. That means they can't afford to pay the power bill. That's what that means. Like, so we can sit here and pat ourselves on the back, whether it's a progressive conservative, liberal, or NDP. I don't care. Well, we can sit here and pat ourselves on the back and say, well, we doubled it. Listen, the Liberals did the same thing and said the same kind of stuff when they were in power, and the NDP said the same kind of stuff when they were in power. And I understand the position it puts you in. But I just don't get how we don't realize that when you take that $400 out of the pocket of individuals, that you're taking it out of something. And usually it's food, power, clothing, and quite frankly, that's cruel. And I know, again, I know that's not you. I know that you put the options on the table. I just hope that this is revisited, and they're like, those that are in power are able to look at this and say, you know what, like, we have to do something, because Nova Scotians are struggling. They really are struggling. And that $400 can go a long way. Not really a question.
Does the member have a question? Do you have
No, I'll just let her respond if she wants.
30 seconds. Deputy Munro.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to clarify that the actual rebates for 14 years before last year were $200 and had remained at $200 for that period of time. So the first change to the rebate was last year, which bumped it to $1,000. Again, we communicated very clearly it was a one-time payment. And again, this year we have communicated it's a one-time payment at $600. Still very proud that it's 3 times what it had been for 14 years prior to.
Order. The time for Liberal questioning has elapsed. We'll now move on to the NDP Caucus. MLA Lachance.
Thank you, and thanks so much for being here today. So certainly you've talked about it being an unprecedented year in terms of the total number of applicants as well as the number of new applicants. So I understood there were more than 100,000 applicants, and 41,000 of those are new applicants. So it was unprecedented, but but was it unexpected? So I guess when you were planning HARP for this year, what did you expect in terms of total number of applications, and how many staff were allocated to manage this program?
Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. So as part of the analysis around so we know more stats in our province around our salary income, so through Stats Canada and so forth, and our colleagues at Finance and Treasury Board. So the number of, once the threshold was understood, we did know that we're going to be somewhere around, north of 130,000 people, but the interesting part is we don't know who pays for heat. And so when you do the estimates around volume, we don't know what the uptake's going to actually be. So that's kind of where we, are tracking weekly as to what the numbers are. From an FTE perspective, I know that we have our business registry processing unit who does all permits and licensing, and we do some temporary hiring for programs like HARP, PTRS, Seniors Care Grant. And we do, they do have different start times, so we have to bring on staff, I do know. And I'd want to check my number, but I do believe that our Director of Business Registration Unit hired about 36 temps to do the processing for HARP. But there was others that were in the other programs as well. So as part of that, I must say that staffing is a challenge. And when we had the onslaught of when the program was opened in October 16th, definitely there was a real swath of applicants, which is great, all coming in at the same time. And it does take some time to process. With staffing challenges and the volume, that did lead to processing delays, which none of us like to have. We're very proud around the service we provide, and we like to meet our service standards and our turnarounds. It was longer than we wanted, but we took action. We cross-trained people. We offered overtime and weekend work. They worked very hard over the holidays to process as many applications as we could. So I call it eating the elephant. We need to eat the elephant. We need to get the dollars out the door. And we've been very, very efficient over the years to get, especially with 85% uptake on direct deposit, people are getting their money very, very quickly once we get it through the processing. And so I did mention in my opening remarks, if everything is tickety-boo with their application coming in, the turnaround is very quick. But when there's follow-up, when something happens at the CRA end, because they have to validate the salary levels, it does take a little follow-up, obviously, from our staff to the employee, to the citizen. But I am happy to say that we are close to 90% of processing all applications that have arrived within our department. And so, you know, we have had some success in eating the elephant, even though we were not happy, of course, being somewhat delayed and not meeting our service standards at the start. But we did take action, and I'm very proud of what the team was able to accomplish in, you know, over the holidays and overtime.
MLA Lachance.
So in terms of the service standards, I was going to ask that. So normally it's an 8-week service standard, as I understand. And is that set to include any clarifications or back and forth that is needed? And, you know, last month we heard reports about a lot of delays, a lot of people struggling with those delays, you know, because their applications needed some follow-up. So have you been tracking how long people have been waiting and how much sort of the percentage by which you've exceeded your service standard of 8 weeks? That's my question.
Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. I'm not sure I have all those numbers with me. I do know that obviously 8 weeks is really to complete the whole application, whether you have follow-up or not. The issue was the volume that came in. And so when you have, and I don't know if, and my colleagues have the volume of the initial applications that came in, but that 8-week turnaround is a commitment with particular follow-up. We are now back, obviously, within our 8-week time frame, and I don't know what the longest time frame has been for a citizen, but could I ask if any of my colleagues might be able to come in with specific detail for MLA Lachance?
Mr. Gregg?
Sure. So yeah, very sort of unique situation. HARP's been around for a long time. I've been around the program for a long time. It's usually a fairly steady program that runs quite smoothly. We can usually issue about 45,000 rebates each year, and that's over the span of the program, October to March. Last year there was the mid-program injection, which was able to help a whole lot of people. So our 44,000 sort of applicant program ballooned up to $155,000 applicant program. The budget went from 10 million up to about 155 million. So lots of really big increases and lots of firsts for us with dealing with the program. Where it was a mid-program increase last year, the sort of the flow of what applicants would do wasn't quite known. So this was the first year where we were starting fresh with a way larger applicant base. We estimated to be about 135,000 applicants would take that up this year. What we saw was 80,000 applications in the first week. So relative to what was doubling our whole program that we've run every year, each year previously. So a significant bump, an ability to help a whole lot of people, which is great. And we're always looking at measures that we can auto-approve as best we can while still making sure we're complying with CRA and, you know, making sure the right people get the money. But it was a lot for us to deal with, and there's been a lot of great work to get us to where we are now. So we usually like...
Sorry, the MLAs do indicate to me they've heard enough, and so if I interject, that's what's going on. MLA Lachance, 13 minutes.
And I would say it's not about hearing enough. It's just about making the best use of our time. So I'm wondering if I could ask if you could provide to the committee as follow-up sort of the percentage of applications that were outside your service standard, what the outliers were in terms of some of the longest waits. And we're also interested in seeing the communication that was provided back and forth to folks, both in anticipation of launching the program, but also during the program, the sort of standardized communication. And, you know, and I appreciate 80,000 applications in the first week is a huge amount, but again, you know, I think we could all stand by the idea that, well, it's unprecedented, that I mean, it wasn't unexpected. It wasn't unexpected. It was what you had planned for. And people are really struggling. So, you know, I know that, you know, you take your service standards and the reason for which they exist seriously. But given the times that we're in, we need to be able to respond quicker and respond within our service standards as government. So, so yeah, a little bit of understanding of the percentage outside of service standards would be helpful. So you said that, and I wanted to ask about, in terms of supports, what do you offer to support folks who need help with their forms or in terms of follow-up? So, you know, is it a standard letter that goes back to folks, or is there, how are people supported in filling out the application?
So I just want to make sure that I understand, MLA Lachance, you had a list of things there that you would like provided to the committee. If you don't have it here today, and you expect they probably don't, but if we could get that sent back to us in a letter of response to the committee, that's what you're looking for? Okay. But then you had a question.
Yes.
Deputy Munro.
I'm trying to remember the question.
MLA Lachance?
What supports do you offer to folks who need help filling out the forms?
Deputy Munro.
Thank you. To add to the last question, we know that the outside was 10 weeks from my colleague, and so we'll provide other information as we have it. As for supports, we certainly have our access. So online is a very important tool for the citizens of the province to apply for HARP. And so there is something called Digital Assist. So first and foremost, our access centers are available to help and assist, but really our MLA offices are absolutely crucial and critical with people that might not be quite so digitally savvy, and we've really appreciated the help. And I know there's consent forms and requirements that are needed by the MLA offices, but I know that's where citizens like to go as well. So we also have online contact center help, and we have consent requirements through our contact center so we can help people on the phone. And really, family members, I know, step in and help people that need help and assistance in completing online. We do really, really, really encourage people to apply online. It's simple, fast, easy, and they get their rebate quicker than doing the paper route. And so I think now we're up to 80% of our penetration where people are applying online versus the paper. And so that's a shift, and that's an important shift, and we need to encourage that, but we also need to make sure our process is simple, fast, and easy, online and understandable.
MLA Lachance.
Go to MLA LeBlanc for a couple minutes.
Oh, MLA LeBlanc.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just a quick question about the communication of like the communicating very clearly the one-time thing. I know that I sat with many constituents last year and helped them fill out the online application. This one, but I get it confused with this one and the seniors care grant. And on one of them, there's a line that says like, I understand that blah, 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 da, da, da. And then, so when I'm helping them fill it out, I say, so this is the thing. So just want to be really clear that you understand this thing. Yes, I do. And then I check the box or whatever. Is there something like that on the form that for this one that says, I understand that this is a one-time only payment and I shouldn't expect to always get it or whatever, like, because that to me is like when you can say one-on-one to an applicant with like looking at them in the eye or on the phone and say, this is the thing about this thing, this program. I don't remember that about this program, and I don't remember feeling very sure that it was a one-time, like knowing in my soul that this was a one-time payment, like the way that you are talking about it right now, I don't feel was communicated. And I'm a pretty up on those things, and I want to make sure that people that come in my office are up on those things. So if that is not the case, like if I'm misremembering, that's fine, you can let me know that. But if, I just want to say, like, is there a way to add that to the form? Like a very clear checkbox.
Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. So the attestation you're talking about is I actually pay for my own heat, and I have my heating bill in my name for my property,
okay,
or the rental unit. That's the attestation, because we don't require people at this point to attach their heating bill. So there is not a box that says, I clearly understand that this is a one-time non-reoccurring payment, which is required from the CRA to ensure it's not taxable. So that is an idea that we should take away and have a look at. It would have been in the communications, and I might want to, if okay by the Madam Chair, if there's any input from my colleagues on.
Emily LeBlanc.
Thanks for that. Yeah, that's right. The attestation is something different. But yeah, no, what I was going to say earlier to Mr. Gregg when you were answering another question is I would love for you to follow up, and Madam Chair, this is another follow-up request, to table those communications where it says, you know, this is a one-time payment. Like, because if it's in a CNS release, let's face it, like most people in the public are not reading CNS releases. Our MLA offices might read them, but we get 15 a day. So, but if it's, you know, if it's all over the website, that's a different story. Anyhow, I would love to see what you consider well communicated and what the public might consider. Not to suggest that they differ, but just to see if there is a difference. The other thing I wanted to ask is about the Energy Poverty Task Force. So, how was the task, sorry, first of all, is your department involved in the Energy Poverty Task Force?
5 minutes. Deputy Munro.
We work with, so we're not on the task force, but we certainly have relations as a stakeholder with the Energy Task Force.
We participate.
And okay, so could I ask Rodger Gregg to answer that question? I know.
Mr. Gregg.
So we do participate on the Energy Task Force, but you know that's not a lead. There's you know we sit on the committee. We're very interested in the work that's being done, but that's not something that we're having a leadership role in from our department.
Emily LeBlanc.
And so did this decision, like when you were reviewing how much to offer as a heating assistance rebate this year, was it brought to the task force? Was the task force involved in any of the decision-making? Were there recommendations from the task force that the amount should stay the same or change? Can you speak to any of that?
Deputy Munro.
No, the decision was not brought to the task force. To clarify, I just want to share on your last question, MLA LeBlanc. We just sent to the news, to the committee, a news release from January 23, and it clearly says it's a one-time payment. So that's one bit of the communication that we just have been proactive to send to the committee. So no, the decision around the HARP program was not brought to the table. We certainly take all the information from our stakeholders as part of the, you know, ongoing discussions and briefings, but specifically not brought to the task force.
Mr. Gregg?
My understanding too is that the task force wasn't fully established at a time when decisions would have been made for that period. So,
Emily LeBlanc.
Well, that's a great question. So when was the decision made? Because this program rolled out October 16th, right? Was the opening day? So when was it decided how much? Did you say, no, that press release was January, but that was, last year. So when was it decided this year, for this year's program, that the change would be $600, to $600?
Deputy Munro.
We know that we have lead time required to ensure all the systems requirements are done and changed. So the decision for us to then start to implement would have been early September. Early September.
MLA LeBlanc.
So clearly, things financially in the province weren't, I mean, not in the province necessarily, but in households was not better. Like, we weren't seeing a drop in interest rates yet, or we haven't really seen one yet, but things were still very, bad financially for homes. So it is surprising that the decision was made and unfortunate. I wanted to ask Deputy Minister Munro, in your opening statement, you suggested that the new income thresholds, you said something at the very end of your statement about, people, getting to know the new income thresholds, and so they could auto-apply for next year. So is that suggesting that you're committing to keeping the level the same for next year and the income thresholds the same?
Minute and a half, Deputy Munro.
No, not committing, but with that swath of new applicants, there's going, depending on where that threshold goes, it could be that the portion of those citizens are going to be in their third year, which is where the auto approval process kicks in. And so not guaranteed, but there could be improvement in our processing of those large volumes because of that. So no, not committing to those thresholds.
MLA LeBlanc.
Thanks. And lastly, have you assessed the impact of last year's program, the top up, so the top up from 200 to 1,000? Have you assessed that impact on sort of reports or levels of energy poverty in the province?
Deputy Munro.
No, I have not.
And
MLA LeBlanc.
is that something that can happen by next year to double your impact?
So I would say that I'm not sure that fits within the mandate of Service Nova Scotia. Our job is to deliver rebate programs, and this one is a long-standing, very popular program and heating assistance rebate program. I would look to, obviously, colleagues that have other information that might apply to our program to share, but that's not the role of Service Nova Scotia.
MLA LeBlanc, you have 10 seconds.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we will now move on to the Progressive Conservative Caucus and MLA Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I just want to clear some of the record up for some of the premise the honourable member had said. We're a government that's here to actually help Nova Scotians. The Liberal government, they could have done increase the amount from $200. They had ample opportunity since 2013 and didn't even increase it one bit to help Nova Scotians. We're able to help over 100,000 Nova Scotians who are having issues with affordability, and just to paint a narrative that we're not doing enough, I totally disagree with. And what do we get from the opposition? All we get is a carbon tax. That's what they give on to address the affordability issue. So, I disagree with my honourable member. And in fact, I'd give the opposition a couple of minutes right now if they'd like to stand in support against a carbon tax. Crickets. Okay, I'll pass it on to my
Stand in support of carbon tax.
Against the carbon tax.
Okay.
Chair, I'll speak to that.
So MLA Young, are you giving some of your conservative time over to the NDP right now?
No, they can have their minute to rebut. I pass it on the honourable member from Colchester North,
okay.
but we know you support a carbon tax.
Yes.
Yeah.
MLA Taggart, order. MLA Taggart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I welcome the response on the carbon tax when their next time comes around. But I have to say, Madam Chair, I'm disappointed in the way my honourable colleague crossed the way there, questioned our bureaucrats here. In this game, political game, elected officials are fair ball, okay? But I believe that the respect that is owed to the bureaucrats in Nova Scotia, and the honourable member generally starts his conversations with how he respects how much everybody does. And I just have to say that it wasn't very respectful, and I'm hoping when he comes back, he'll take the opportunity to clear some of those things up. So, I want to start by, I want to speak about some of the things that were said here so far. across the way, they talked about, the honourable member talked about the calls that he received from all over Nova Scotia with respect to the home heating rebate plan. And so we received some calls too. And those calls were about confusion, okay? And it's my opinion that, the confusion was sowed in an attempt to discredit the program and the government, and all it really did was make it difficult for some seniors, in particular seniors, to understand what was going on. So, like, my staff works very, very, very hard to make sure that all the constituents of Colchester North are able to apply to all these wonderful programs that come out. And just for example, on my Christmas card, which is not a picture of me, trust me, on the back of my Christmas card, all that was there was a list of the programs that they could access. And that went out a few days before Christmas. And the number of applications that we filled out from that day to the end of the year was unbelievable, okay? And that's where we got the calls about confusion. It was steady. So they spoke about every challenge, my colleagues spoke about every challenge under the sun. Rent, cost of food, you name it, just another case of muddying the waters. That's all it was. The HARP program has always been a great program that was originally brought in by the PC government, but I'll go over all that in a minute. I'll ask you guys questions and you can clarify it. But again, that was just just to muddy the water. So the member talked about, with respect to muddying the water, he talked about somebody who's, and I don't remember the number, whose property tax was increased by an insane amount. I don't know what it was, but I got to tell you something. I spent 12 years in municipal government. The property taxes are capped. He indicated that they hadn't done any repairs, so property taxes are capped in Nova Scotia, number one. Number two, in 12 years, I never heard tell of somebody bringing out a tax rate in January, okay? Tax rates typically come out just before the assessment is capped, okay? It's capped. Anyway, the tax rate. So I don't know how we figured this number because the tax rates aren't out yet. So that's, again, that's muddy in the water, I gotta catch up my notes here. But he talked about how much cheaper things were 10 years ago. Well, certainly rents changed, but I got to tell you something. 10 years ago, factual, okay, the price of home heating oil was $2.92 10 years ago. When the member was first elected, and when I think the rate at that time, but you'll clarify this later, was $200. It was $2.92 in 2013, and in 2023, it's very high, $2.47. Okay, so we got to bring things in perspective here. I welcome the opportunity to have those cleared up. But anyone so this is where I really get to talk about my favorite thing, the carbon tax. Okay, so most of these folks that struggle with a heating bill in the wintertime like to fill their tank up in the summertime. That way they've got it paid for, and then the next bill. So they paid a carbon tax on that heating fuel that the members across the way sat on their hands when we asked them to support not having the carbon tax. We asked them, they sat on their hands, and it wasn't until the poll numbers crashed that the feds then come out and said, well, we're not going to put it on in Nova Scotia or Atlantic Canada. We're not going to put it on fuel oil. So we need to talk about facts. But anyway, I want to go to the questions I'm supposed to ask here. But I need to be clear, okay? Don't muddy the waters. Facts are facts, okay? And yes, there is no question that this year's program is less, okay? Everybody knows that, but don't muddy the waters. Okay, so Deputy Munro, I understand that the HARP was launched in 2008 in replacing previous heating assistance programs such as low-income fuel assistance programs, keep the heat programs, they span successive PC governments. I understand that HARP then changed the following year in 2009 after an election, and could you shed some light on the original program parameters and how they have changed, how they were changed by the then NDP government of 2009.
11 minutes. Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. The income eligibility thresholds remained unchanged from 2009 until 2017. And in 2017, we raised the thresholds by $2,000. Back in 2009, I'm trying to get my bearings here. What happened in 2009?
2009, it was changed to 100 to 200.
Okay, so we did, yeah. So in 2009, the rebate was changed to a range of $100 to $200, whereas beforehand, there was a combination of $450 rebate for heat with oil, propane, or natural gas, and those that heat it with electricity, wood, or coal, depending on your fuel, was $150. So it became a little bit more consistent with a range of payment depending on your type of fuel and your use, between $100 and $200, but there was a change in the threshold amount.
Thank you.
Emily Taggart?
I understand there was also some changes made to the HARP eligibility in 2017 under the then Liberal government. Could you elaborate on these changes?
Deputy Munro?
Thank you for the question. The income eligibility remained unchanged in 2017. And then the government of the day raised them by the $2,000 to $29,000 for families and $44,000 for $29,000 for individuals and families at $44,000. About 1,500 new applicants were approved under that new criteria, so we added some citizens to that, so 1,400, and we're always around that $45,000 mark, so 45,000 individuals, citizens applying, and again, the rebate amount stayed between the 100 and the 200 threshold, depending on the application.
MLA Taggart?
Because that was the year that the previous government had $150 million surplus, so I guess they weren't too concerned. And anyway, so were there no further changes to HARP between 2017 and 2022? Is that correct?
Deputy Munro?
Sorry, Madam Chair. Yes, there were some changes because I actually came on the scene in 2014. So now we're talking when I was in the chair. The eligibility thresholds did not change during that time. But what we did do is we added the opt-in option for HARP when we put the application process online. We were starting our digital journey at that time. And so that was the exciting time where we started what we call the bundle, where the property tax rebate senior citizen could opt into the HARP program. And so that's when we actually started to see a bit of increase, about 3,000 new applicants coming into the fold at that time. And there was, in the spring of 22, government announced a one-time top-up payment of $150 to all in 21-22 HARP year. So, and that was a rising fuel costs and cost of living scenario as well.
9 minutes, MLA Taggart.
So thank you again, Deputy. And so I think you just indicated that you were in the chair, and I'm not sure what the chair means, but you were fairly involved. You were fairly involved in the process at that time. So I have to ask, because similar questions were asked about the decision making in the past year. So I have to ask, why did the rebate stay the same? Between 100 and 200 for close to 14 years. So is there any rationality? Was that discussed? Why Nova Scotians didn't deserve more then? Please. Deputy
Munro.
Sorry, and to qualify, I was the CEO of Service Nova Scotia at the time, coming into the role at Service Nova Scotia. And again, the review would have happened, and the government of the day would have made the decisions on what the rebates were and the thresholds were.
MLA Taggart.
You were involved in any of those discussions, I guess, is that right?
Deputy Munro.
Yes, I would have been.
MLA Taggart.
No rationale given for not increasing it or anything like that. It was just, that's a decision that the government made, which they have a right to do, correct?
Deputy Munro.
Yes, our job is to provide the options, and then government makes the decision.
MLA Taggart.
So, Deputy Munro, you also mentioned in your opening statement, so I wonder if you'd reiterate how many applications have been approved so far, and you know, how many are, if you know, how many are first-time applicants?
Deputy Munro, 7 minutes plus.
So we have received 125,783 as at January 8th. We've approved 103,920, and we are over 41,000 new applicants with this program this year.
MLA Taggart.
My final question, and I'm going to pass it out to my colleague, Richard Sheehy, is, and so would you be able to contrast the difference between the program today and how it impacted Nova Scotians with the, you know, with what it was back in 2017? Can you give us a picture of that, you know, without including all the other wonderful programs that you administer, like seniors care and that Salvation Army one that was referred to as not, I forget what the wording was, but not very valuable. That's not the right wording, but could you maybe give us a little information on that?
7 minutes, Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. Yes, so the budget back in 2017, including the grant that we give to Salvation Army, I believe was around $11 million. I'm looking at my colleague from Finance. And we would have been supporting and helping through applications, about 45,000 that citizens of the province. And so when you fast forward to last year and then this year, our budget is around $82 million, and we're supporting our target, or our guesstimate is around 130,000 citizens. And last year, the budget was even more, obviously around 150 million, and we supported and approved close to 150,000 applications, obviously. There are 150,000 citizens' applications.
MLA Taggart, anything?
I just want to, I guess let's comment. So it's interesting, you just commented the total budget in that year was 10 million or 11 million, and I'm reading here that in 2022, we topped up a one-time top-up payment to the HARP of $150. Am I right about that? And that came to, the top-up came to 13.2 million. So this idea that you know, that we're not doing you know, as much as we can, I know more is needed, but this idea, this muddy in the water thing, it needs to be clear. Thank you.
4 minutes, MLA Sheehy-Richard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to get a little more information on the opt-in for the seniors, and the 80,000 applications that you had in the first week is amazing, actually. So when they opt in, were those processed? Like, how quick? Can you explain how those are? They quick, and when do they get processed? Like, were they part of that 80,000?
Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. So with the PTRS program, it actually starts earlier than October 16th. So when our seniors apply for PTRS and they opt into the HARP program, in fact, we actually approve them or review their file at the time, and we hold them until such time as the HARP program is launched. But in fact, we had 10,000 seniors at the front of the queue who were processed first, and the rebates were given to them in short order. So we actually kind of front-end load that PTRS opt-in program, and so it's nice to have that many seniors paid first.
MLA Sheehy-Richard.
Thank you for that, because that makes sense, because there was some confusion about some that thought they already gotten it. And I'm like, well, it just opened, but that would make sense for that. So thanks for clarifying. And also, I'm from rural Nova Scotia. And so those who may not heat with oil or electricity, for the committee and for the members in the room, what are some of the access to the other programs? Like, what are access for other heating?
3 minutes, Deputy Boudreau.
Thanks for the question. Actually, all types of heating fuel, so everything from propane to pellets to people that might chop their own wood is eligible for the heating assistance rebate program. So we do cover all heating fuels, and that answers your question.
Emily Sheehy-Richard.
And so I guess the question is, do you ever stop using HARP rebates if the program runs through its budget that's been allocated?
Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. No, we do not. Nova Scotians that are in need, and we would work obviously with our colleagues at Finance and Treasury Board to ensure that we are able to meet the need.
Emily Sheehy-Richard, 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll keep going with some quick ones here. What can you tell me the program is doing to protect applicant information and prevent fraud? I noticed that you said that at this point they're not required, and I know from the office experience they're not required to submit them, but what are some protections that you have in place?
Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, they're obviously as part of a CRA program. We want to make sure it's non-taxable. We work under a program where they have to meet the threshold, and we do what we would call audits. So we do a random audit where we actually connect with citizens and we ask them for their heating bill and some other information. So there is a process for audit, which is a requirement of CRA, in fact. And when it comes to information, certainly when we work with CRA, we've also worked with our IAP to ensure that our systems are tight and controlled, and we're taking care of people's information very clearly. So there is an audit process, and I'm just wondering if I could refer to one of my other, thank you. As part of the application process, we only get one application per household. The address of the citizen is actually cross-referenced to the Nova Scotia address database, which is obviously used for 911 as well, so very accurate. And so there's checks and balances. We also check with no duplicates coming from the same household. So there's a lot of processes built into the online system, as well as then there's after-the-fact, sporadic, and random audit to ensure that those Nova Scotians in need and those that are eligible are getting the dollars.
Order. Time for PC questioning has elapsed. We'll now move on to the second round. Each caucus will have 8 minutes. We'll begin with the Liberal caucus. Emily Maguire.
I just would like to start by thanking you for being here today. I know you're in a tough position. I will say that the department and everybody that works in there does a great job, and I know it's an impossible task, let's be frank, right? And I do appreciate the programs that are coming out of there. I will say, I didn't want to get into the back and forth, but I feel like I have to defend myself a little bit, so bear with me for a second. I find it puzzling and troubling that the government side would spend 20 minutes defending their party instead of defending the people that they were voted in to defend. Instead of saying and asking questions to help the people that they were voted in to represent, they just pointed fingers. And to be frank, I've been critical of all parties. I was critical of my own party when we were in power, and you just have to do a little bit of research to see that, right? And so no party's perfect. No party has done everything that was supposed to be done or could have been done. But to sit here and spend 20 minutes saying, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this, we're better, you did this, you did this, and and not being offended over the people's struggles, but actually being offended that the opposition is doing their job and fighting for the people that are struggling, is mind-boggling to me. I understand that they want to carry the party flag and they want to be rah, 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 but the truth is that's what people hate. That's what Nova Scotians hate. That's what people are sick of. They're sick of when you're in a moment in time where you have the ability to be a leader and you have the ability to affect and make change. Instead of doing that, you take your position to carry the water. And it is kind of offensive. Anyways.
6 minutes.
I will say that another program that was decreased that had a massive impact, and I know this isn't on you, but it does have an impact when it comes to the HARP program, and I'm wondering if this was taken into consideration, is the rent subsidies. So it used to be, under the previous governments, if we want to go that way, 30% of your income made you eligible for rent subsidies. Now it's 50%. It was increased to 50%. And again, I've said this several times around this table. I wonder how many people around this table are spending 50% of their income on their mortgage payment or the rent payment. I would be willing to say 0. Right? Very few people. And so did the department look at other programs outside of their jurisdiction or outside of their department, like the rent subsidies, when putting recommendations forward on the HARP program? Because it had a massive impact on individuals. There were people that were depending on the rent subsidies who are no longer eligible for it, and there are people that are barely getting by that are no longer getting rent subsidies. So was that taken into consideration for the formula for decreasing the HARP program?
5 minutes, Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. What I can say is that a government does apply a lens, the affordability lens in all its decisioning. So no, Service Nova Scotia did not go and have discussions with DMA, Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing. So those questions around supplements could be, asked of them. But I can say that government, in making its decisions, has the affordability lens as in their discussions. So again, our job is to provide them options, and the decisions are then made.
MLA McGuire.
So 2.5 million. 2.5 million is the number that's owed to maritime fuel customers. $2.5 million in fuel. Individuals all around this province got screwed when maritime fuels went under.
Order. If the honourable member would use parliamentary language. I appreciate the intention there. If you could use another word, thank you. MLA McGuire.
Working class, middle class, and low-income Nova Scotians took a beating when maritime fuels went under. No one around this table was impacted. And yet, the HARP program, which would be ideal for this situation, would be perfect for this situation, was not even considered. That's what we heard, not even considered. Did your department put forward recommendations in response to maritime fuels bankruptcy to help working class, hard-working Nova Scotians right across this province who lost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars because maritime fuels went under? Did you put forward a recommendation from your department to government to say, let's include them in the HARP program?
Deputy Munro.
Question. We are disappointed, like everyone, that citizens have been impacted by the bankruptcy of maritime fuels. The heating assistance rebate program eligibility criteria, supports Nova Scotians. So what I would say, it's focused on those most in need and based on income. So regardless of how they heat their homes, those individuals that have been impacted by maritime fuels, we welcome and encourage them to apply for HARP because it is focused on those Nova Scotians in need based on income levels for their eligibility. So we would encourage all maritime fuels, if they are within the eligibility criteria, to apply for the heating assistance rebate program this year.
2 minutes, MLA McGuire.
So that wasn't the question. The question was, was there a recommendation to incorporate individuals that lost money from maritime fuels? There's people that make $80,000 as a household that are not eligible for the HARP program, but lost $2,000, $3,000. The question wasn't if they're eligible, apply. The question was there any recommendation put forward to do a one-time change like you did from 6 to 1,000 to include individuals that are impacted by maritime fuel?
Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. There would have been discussions. I'm trying to think of timing. When our decision was made in September, I'm not sure when maritime fuels actually went bankrupt. But at the end of the day, it's unfortunate that citizens are impacted. And we have a program based on eligibility of income. Government, to address losses of private companies is difficult, and really is that government's role. I would have said conversations would have been happening, but do we have the date of when the maritime fuel?
MLA McGuire.
So respectfully, you said, like, is it government's role for private industry? Throughout the history of this province, governments have helped and propped up private industry, right? They've given grants and money hand over fist, millions and millions, billions of dollars. You don't have to look any further than Northern Pulp and other institutions. So was there ever a direct conversation with yourself and the government to change the eligibility for maritime fuels?
Deputy Munro.
Thank you, Madam. No, there was not, and I'm understanding that the maritime fuels bankruptcy happened in November.
MLA McGuire, your time has elapsed. We will now move on to MLA Lachance and the NDP.
Great, thank you. I think I just want to start by going back to something around facts or facts and a brief invitation to stand up around the issue of carbon tax. We have tabled a bill, I think we tried, or a motion, I think we tried to table it more than once at this committee around removing carbon tax from all heating sources. And so we just, I guess we have brought this to the table. We've been told it wasn't a subject for conversation, but if folks want to have that conversation, we're ready to go on that. So just let us know. But to turn back to HARP, so at the end of the last round of our questioning, we were talking about evaluation and results from the HARP program. And so, I understand, your department is able to talk about, the outputs in terms of numbers, so applications received, applications approved, amount of money out the door, and, your service standard for your internal management. But who is actually looking at the impact of this program, and how are they looking at it?
Deputy Munro.
Thank you for the question. In fact, I would say the person right behind me. We do actually have product management when you talk about having a program that is online and serving citizens. So in the Business and Consumer Services team, that's part of what their job is. Our focus is continuous improvement. Our focus is how do we get better. Our focus is how do we do better for Nova Scotians. So there's ongoing data analysis. There's ongoing survey and feedback loops around this program. And so it's a very popular program. So I would say that we do have staff that are focused on measurement and impact of the program.
MLA Lachance.
So I'm wondering if you can be more specific. So in terms of, what are the expected results? So the outputs are, your target numbers and your service standards. But if we start thinking about sort of medium-term results and long-term impact, what are they and how are they being measured specifically? 5 minutes, Deputy Munro.
I would like to defer the question to my colleague, Rodger Gregg.
Mr. Gregg?
Thanks. And I think you're kind of going back to the work of the Affordable Energy Coalition and how could funds best be spent to assist people in low income to help with heat or to have broader program outcomes. Would that be more accurate for your question?
MLA Lachance?
Really, my question is fundamentally, how do we know this program is working?
Mr. Gregg?
From our perspective, from when it's working, we would be looking at the outputs. So it would be the money, the immediate money that goes out the door to help people. So we could say, the number of people have helped, the amount of rebate they've received, but it wouldn't go into a broader sort of medium, longer term sort of metrics, because there would be a lot of other factors that would funnel into those. So with Service Nova Scotia and with the role we do as far as the delivery of the program, that would be the extent of it.
MLA Lachance, just over 4 minutes.
So just to clarify, who in government then is actually assessing the medium-term and long-term results and impact of this program? The deputy referred to the data analysis group and surveys and that sort of thing. I mean, if I was asked to evaluate the impact of this program, I could start thinking about things like, some qualitative analysis, some interviews with folks, looking at household spending after folks had received the HARP, understanding if people felt like their energy needs were met through the winter. I mean, I could, it would be not easy, but there are things that could be evaluated to understand the actual impact, not just the numbers. So not just, I was about to use an unparliamentary expression, but an evaluation, we often talk about bums and seats. So that's not a result, that's an output. So who in government knows that this is actually making a difference in people's lives?
3 minutes, Deputy Munro.
Thanks for the question. I would say let's go back to what the purpose of the program is. It's a one-time payment every year for those that are eligible. So our measure of impact is, are we getting the dollars out the door? And it's never enough. We know that that's the case. It's never enough. But our job, it's a very simple program. Do you pay for heat? Is your name on the bill? Are we getting it to you? Are we getting it to those that are eligible? And we do it every year based on the recommendations of government. All the affordability conversations that happen are, we've got DCS involved, we've got housing involved. I've got the portion of heating assistance and rebate, and our job is transactional to get the dollars out the door to people in need and to as many as we can based on the decision made by government.
Emily Lachance.
And that's, the role of Service Nova Scotia is clear in that. But I guess I'm wondering, so now you've alluded to DCS and other departments. So we, as government, we can't just keep sending money out the door without actually knowing if it's working, right? Is this program working? Is it actually having a measurable impact on people's lives? And if it's not, getting money in your bank account is really important. And for a lot of people, I hope that it makes that month a whole lot easier. But are we achieving what we want to achieve as government with the investment that's being made year over year? And I guess what I'm hearing is that there's no one in government actually looking at the results or impacts of this program. You're looking at your service impacts, outputs, that's great. And those are your measurements that you're accountable for. But I am asking for the bigger picture, who of this affordability measure or other affordability measures, but this one in particular that we keep doing year over year. And we really, if we're doing things year over year, we really need to know if they're making an impact on people's lives.
Deputy Munro, 1 minute.
Thanks for the question. I would say that under the leadership of Deputy Langley, we are very much a systems approach when it comes to my other colleagues. So I can't speak to that question at that level of the House, but I can say that we, as a deputy minister's table, are understanding and supportive of one another and have a systems approach when we talk about the citizen. How do we do best for the citizen, the wraparound supports, affordability overall. So we need to do what we can do, and we are connected as a table. And I would say that I am responsible for the effectiveness of this program, and this program connects into all the other ones that are going with the table and the clerk of the province overseeing our effectiveness and systems approach in trying to do better and better and knock down the silos. We are not a siloed bureaucracy. We're doing more and more from a systems perspective. So I would say in that space.
Order. Time has elapsed for NDP questioning. We'll now move on to the PC Caucus. MLA Barkhouse.
Thank you. Deputy Minister Munro, if you'd like to finish, or if you're fine, I can give you that time. You were right in the middle of a sentence when you were cut off. No. Okay, so just to clarify, with respects to concerns about the efficiency of HARP and how many Nova Scotians are receiving support, how do the numbers of applications processed and new applications compare to previous years?
Deputy Munro.
Well, as I've said previously, we've had applications around 45,000, but now we're up into the 125, and we think we're going to be hitting the 135,000 mark. So from that perspective, the volume is the story, and that means more Nova Scotians are getting supports.
Deputy MLA Barkhouse.
I love it when you give me a raise. So, okay, that's fair. And I think earlier you had stated there was 80,000 within the first week.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So there's been media coverage, and we've discussed it here today, about delays for people getting the rebates. Can you explain what you've or your department has done to improve the processing times for HARP?
Deputy Munro.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Combination of, and I mentioned this, combination of volume, but also staffing shortages. And so lots of different reasons for that, and I'm sure you're all aware. But with that, and understanding that that volume hit us, there was a very large focus on cross-training and bringing people in. We did do all the temp hires, as I said. We offered overtime to people that wanted it. We worked weekends. We worked well over the holidays. And we also, try to find a way to process quicker through our colleagues with CRA, and we're trying to get better at doing this so we don't have too much of a human touch. But I would say in that time frame, we did a lot to bring resources to bear and bring in the cavalry, because we were obviously wanting to get that turnaround down. I know my colleague, we did have a big bump of around 18,000 applicants approved in December. But if I could ask my colleague to talk about what we did in that regard, that would be appreciated.
Mr. Gregg.
Sure. So again, a unique situation where we have a whole bunch of applications. There's a bit of a backlog, so we're looking at new and different ways that we could relieve that backlog. So we explored, there was a bit more of a manual approach that we could do a run that would allow us to auto-approve a large number of applications based if they've completed certain parts of their application correctly. So we looked at, I think at the time we maybe had 40,000 in our backlog, and this was right before Christmas, and the thought was really, how can we try to get as many rebates out the door before the holidays, is because we know people were expecting them. So as a result of that sort of one-time batch run, we were able to get around almost half of that 40,000 backlog out the door right before Christmas. So that's something that the team worked really hard on, that we were really, really happy with, and that was able to give us a big bump in our numbers and get our wait times down for when we started the new year. So we were pretty happy about that.
Emily Barkhouse, just over 4.
So that leads me to ask what the administrative costs are for this program.
Deputy Munro.
Might scare me.
Thank you for the question. The total administrative costs make up close to about 1.4% of the program's total cost, which is very low from a government's program perspective. So that means that 98.6% of the dollars allotted by government of the 82.5 million goes directly to Nova Scotian. So very proud of the large program at a 1.4% administrative cost.
MLA Barkhouse.
Wow, thank you. So we are hearing circumstances of 2 or more adults, or sorry, more than 2 adults in a home. How does this program accommodate cases like this?
Deputy Munro.
So the program is designed to assist those who pay for heat in any particular home, and we presume all individuals named on the application do contribute. However, that said, there are some unique circumstances happening, obviously, in our province, and some of them, of course, tied to affordability. So our staff, work with applicants to try to find solutions that meet their needs. And so here, an example would be someone living on a property, family member or whatever, and they're in an RV, right? So they have the same civic address. And so with that, our teams work with them to ensure that they actually are paying for their heat for their RV, and as such, how do we work the systems to ensure that they are provided a payment? So it's unique. There's a touch here with citizens that have complicated or scenarios that don't fit the status quo. So we do our best to assist them, and that takes time, and that takes conversations, and it's important to do.
2 minutes, MLA Barkhouse.
I understand that this program has to meet certain criteria, so that way people don't get taxed on the rebate they receive. Can you explain that to me, like how that works?
Deputy Munro?
So CRA, as part of the definition, it's a one-time non-reoccurring payment for heat that has been paid. And so that is the requirement of the eligibility of the program. And so it's as simple as that. As part of the requirement of CRA, we obviously do those audits that are required as well. But it's about heat that has been paid, and it's a one-time non-reoccurring payment.
MLA Barkhouse, 1 minute.
So just for clarification, maybe to everybody, the millions out there that are watching, what is the mission of Service Nova Scotia, and how does HARP align with that mission?
Deputy Munro, 45 seconds.
Thank you for the question. I've now been with government for 10 years, and the mission has always been around being citizen-centric and being responsive and making things simple and easy as best we can. And so I'm very proud to say that the maturity of the HARP program is wonderful in that it is our most mature online system. It is simple, fast, and easy. We can always get better, but it aligns to our culture, which is around service and doing the best we can for the citizens of the province.
MLA Barkhouse, 10 seconds.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much for coming. We truly appreciate you guys being in the hot seat and answering these questions for us.
Thank you. All right. So with that, I would invite Deputy Munro to make any final remarks she would like to make.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about our heating assistance rebate program. I'd like to close by saying that we're very proud of this program. As of January 8th, we have received nearly 126,000 applications. Our staff have worked very hard, particularly over the holidays, to process as many applications as possible so people get their rebates. We've also worked to make it easier for people to apply, and we're offering information in 7 different languages to ensure newcomers know about HARP. We know many Nova Scotians are struggling with the increased cost of living, and we're working to ensure this rebate is delivered as quickly as possible to those who qualify. Service Nova Scotia is also looking for ways to better serve Nova Scotians, and we will continue to work to make this program and all our programs as efficient and accessible as possible. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. The witnesses are invited now to leave. You are free to go out into the world, and we will continue with committee business, so I'm sure Emily McGuire doesn't want to go anywhere. So first item on committee business is witness clarification. Order. Witness clarification, re-government procurement and practice. The committee had approved the executive director of Build Nova Scotia as a witness regarding this topic. When Build Nova Scotia was contacted to schedule their appearance, there was confusion regarding whom the committee actually wanted to appear. There are 2 executive directors at Build Nova Scotia, Donnie Burke and Ken Swain, who both deal with remediation-related issues. So does the committee want either of these individuals, both these individuals, or do they want the president and CEO, David Benoit, as the witness? MLA Young.
Yeah, I think CEO David Benoit would be an appropriate witness.
Any other commentary from any of the members? Okay. I think we're good with that, so we have clarification for the clerk. Food insecurity, there was a possible witness omission here. When we reviewed the record of decision from December 13th, a discrepancy was noted in the witnesses listed for the food insecurity and school food initiatives topic. The record of decision had community services, education, and agriculture listed twice as witnesses. But when the transcript was reviewed, representatives from Nova Scotia Health were also included as witnesses, but they weren't listed on the record of decision. So members have been provided with the corrected record of decision. Does the committee wish to have Nova Scotia Health representatives as witnesses for this topic as well? And I believe that is the case. Is that right? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm seeing thumbs up around the table, so we will add Nova Scotia Health. Okay. Endorsement of Auditor General recommendations, the 2023 financial report. The committee has a practice of endorsing Auditor General recommendations. This is a standard motion that is used. However, in this case, the recommendation has not been accepted. And how does the committee wish to proceed? Emily Young and then Emily Lachance.
Yeah, I think the standard motion that we usually have is to move to endorse the recommendations, the Auditor General, that have been accepted by the departments.
Thank you, Emily Young. Emily LeBlanc. Sorry, Lachance.
So I think I'd just like to clarify further that I would move a motion that the Public Accounts Committee formally accept and endorse the recommendations in the 2023 financial report of the Auditor General. And so...
we have a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Yes. Further discussion on the motion? That wasn't a motion. That was a motion. Emily McDonald?
So just for clarity, the motion removed the as agreed to by the departments, which has been the practice for at least the 2 years I've sat on. My colleague has sat here for 10 years plus. So was that a mistake or was it intended? I'm just asking to the member who moved it. Because normally that's the end of it. That was agreed to by the departments.
Emily Lachance?
No, specifically that my motion was intended to recommend the accept and endorse the recommendations in the 2023 financial report of the Auditor General, period.
Thank you. All right. Any further clarity? Emily McDonald?
Well, just to keep clarity as to what it is, I move an amendment to add to the end that were agreed to by the department, which is the standard motion we've done.
One moment, please.
Thank you.
Because that just nullifies the motion because there were none agreed to.
Okay, so legal counsel is indicating that that is not a legal motion because it would nullify what the motion that MLA Lachance had in fact advanced. So that's why we can't do that. So Emily McGuire.
So as the old person on this committee, the motion has always been that we accept the recommendations of the Auditor General's report. Like, I'm actually kind of confused on what's going on here, and like MLA Lachance's recommendation is kind of what we've always done for, maybe, I don't know what the department thing is, but let's just make this simple and get it through.
That's not correct. Speak to it?
Emily McDonald, I think I saw a finger there.
Yeah.
So Emily McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I get the intent. My motion is out of order because by voting against it would be the equivalent of it. And clearly her intent was to leave it out. So, I'd like to question as to, can I just get 2 minutes? Because what I want to see is what did we do every other time? Because every other time I've seen the motion, that's what it's been worded. So if it hasn't been, then I'm okay with it.
So we'll give you a 2-minute recess. Thank you. Okay.
Nolan, I thought you said this going to go smooth. Come on. Never. Bye. Bye.
Order. We will now call the committee back to order. The Auditor General is here, and so she is sitting in the seat where the Deputy Minister was for Ledge TV. So if we could perhaps ask the Auditor General about her recommendation.
Okay.
Auditor General.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in this case, the finance report that is being referred to, there was one recommendation and only one recommendation in the finance report. It was a very important recommendation. It was the one regarding additional appropriations, where we recommended that the Minister of Finance amend the Finance Act with respect to the additional appropriations issue to bring it in line with that of the rest of the country. That's kind of paraphrased. That's not exact wording, but that was the essence of the recommendation. The Minister of Finance disagreed with the recommendation. So that being said, in this case, if the wording that has been used in recent motions to support the work of the office, in my view, effectively, it would be a non-support of the work of the Auditor General's office. So I think fundamentally the committee needs to decide, do they support the recommendations from my office or do they not? I have not spoken to that wording that has been used in recent motions and past reports because there was probably numerous recommendations contained in those reports, and there might have been a rare circumstance where a department disagreed with our recommendation, so I didn't raise concern, but in this case, it's much more significant where we're talking about one and only one recommendation, so I'll stop at that.
Thank you, Ms. Adair. I have MLA Maguire and MLA Lachance who would like to speak on this motion. MLA Maguire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess I've been doing this for 11 years now, and I've never seen this before. So this is what kind of caught me off guard. So I was so the reason why the government wants to vote under the previous motion, wants to use the wording of the previous motion is because the actual department does not agree with the recommendation. Therefore, this kind of nullifies the report, right? So it's kind of a roundabout way of voting no, right? And voting against the Auditor General's recommendations, which I don't think is, in my experience, has never happened. The Auditor General's recommendations have always gone through. We have to remember that the Auditor General is a nonpartisan individual that looks at the expenses of the province. And what I will say is that, you know, we've gone back and forth in this committee a lot about the role of the Auditor General and the recommendations of the Auditor General and the structure of this committee. And at times, government has said, we need to follow the Auditor General to a T. This is what the Auditor General does. And they fall back on it. And not just this government, all governments have done that, where they've said, well, the Auditor General has said this, therefore we have to follow it. Or these are the rules that are put forward in the rule book. And then there's other times where it's the exact opposite. So what I would say is if this is just a way of undercutting the recommendations of the Auditor General, which it seems to be, that's what it is, I would just say, put a motion on the floor, show your true intent, let's vote on it, and let's get on with it. But to me, it seems like this is just a way of saying, looking like they're voting for the recommendations, but realistically what you're doing is you're disposing of the recommendations because the department did not agree with it. So kind of wish that members were a little bit more upfront on their intent on this one and just came out and said, listen, we don't believe in the recommendations. It's clear that the department doesn't believe in this recommendation, so we're going to vote against it. And that's what I would say.
Thank you. Emily Lachance.
Thanks. And, you know, I think the Auditor General used the word significant, and I think that's a really important word to use when discussing this. So I think, firstly, you know, we have raised this issue of accountability and transparency in government spending to this government repeatedly. We are out of step and out of date in our Finance Act and how it's being used with the rest of the country. And this has been raised many, many times. And it's really, I don't feel that the government and the Minister of Finance have given any kind of adequate response as to why you wouldn't bring into our financial management practices in line with the rest, literally the rest of the country, folks. You know, the rest of the country has a greater level of accountability and transparency with financial management and its legislatures, and it still manages to function. So, you know, I've heard too many times from the minister, like, you don't want me to spend money on natural disasters, and that's just, like, that's not true. This is not what this is about. And, you know, I wasn't around with the last formulation of government, but I understand that the Progressive Conservative Caucus talked a lot about accountability and transparency. And so this really seems to be a fundamental issue where instead of running and hiding from these changes, you could actually show some leadership. And I would encourage members to take that back to caucus and to your discussions. So, you know, and then I think, you know, perhaps most significantly is this implication that this committee isn't supporting the work of the Auditor General. And that's very concerning. And if that's, I mean, I guess if the PC members of this committee are going to double down on not supporting increased accountability and transparency, are going to double down on not reviewing the Finance Act, then they're also doubling down on not supporting the work of the Auditor General, and that's deeply concerning.
Thank you. Emily Young, and then Emily McDonald.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I fundamentally disagree with that premise. Like, we have a lot of respect for the work of the Auditor General. There's times where we're all human, where people are going to have different opinions. I know during the previous government, the Liberals often didn't have, working with Michael Pickup and stuff, they didn't always agree. And, you know, the standard practice of this committee has been to endorse the recommendations of the Auditor General that have been accepted by the department. So I have no intent on deviating from the standard practice of this committee. And with those words, that's...
MLA McDonald?
So, thank you, Madam Chair. I made it clear as I was wondering to see how it was in past practice, at least in this 2.5 years, although the member opposite that wanted a soundbite, and good for you, didn't actually say whether over the last 8 years of his government or before, that was the standard. There was, and to be honest, I forgot there was only one recommendation. The thing says recommendations, so. And the point is, it's been the standard practice. So for the members opposite to tell me that, oh, well, you need to vote this, otherwise you don't agree with what the Auditor General, I'm sorry, the standard practice has been that. The departments haven't agreed to it, and over the previous governments, which probably includes the previous PC before the NDP, that's probably been how they've done it. If this was a big deal, I would have loved to have had this discussion 2.5 years ago when we started, as opposed to going down 2 years, and we happen to have a report that sadly has one recommendation and the department doesn't agree with it. And that's the bad part. There's one recommendation, the department doesn't agree. Again, I won't be deviating from how we've been doing it from the beginning of this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I have McGuire and then Lachance. MLA McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to say that the last statement was a bit misleading. So to say that we've always done it this way, yes, but what you're actually doing is voting for something that's actually voting that will actually throw out the recommendations of the Auditor General. We know that the department did not agree to the recommendations of the Auditor General. So you can't say that we're agreeing with the Auditor General, but at the same time, you know, the ultimate response or the ultimate consequence of your vote is that it's going to get chucked out, because that's what's happening here. So just, listen, your government, you can do what you want, you can vote the way you want. I'm not offended by the way you vote. I know we did things the way we did it. Everybody does things differently. What I said was just show a little transparency and a little bit of openness on this vote. You're not voting to accept the recommendations of the Auditor General. You're voting because you know that the department did not accept the recommendations of the Auditor General, therefore it's going to get thrown out. So that's all I'm saying here. Just be open with your vote. I wasn't critical of it.
MLA McGuire, I think
well,
you're under a misunderstanding here right now. The motion that Mr. McDonald put forward, which would have done what you are saying.
I'm not misunderstanding anything.
We are talking about MLA Lachance's, which is simply to accept the recommendations of the Auditor General. So that's all we're talking about right here.
Okay, respectfully, Madam Chair.
MLA McGuire.
Respectfully, Madam Chair, I'm not confused. I know what the motions are. I'm responding to an accusation that was made to me in public accounts, that I was doing this for a soundbite. I'm not doing it for a soundbite. What I'm saying is, vote the way you're going to vote, that's fine. Just be open about it. That's it. We know that you're voting. You want to vote a certain way because you know that that recommendation is going to get thrown in. And this is something that continues to happen in this committee, where there's these, you know, personal things back and forth. There's this insulting like underhanded insults. The previous government did this, previous government did that. Let's kind of bring it up to a point where we can actually agree and disagree without, you know, pointing fingers at each other and insulting each other and insulting past people that aren't here to defend themselves.
MLA Lachance.
Thank you. And, you know, I think I want to respond to MLA McDonald's comments on a couple of points. And one is around this idea that, again, that for 2.5 years that things have been done a certain way. But I think this is a unique situation. And I was disappointed that MLA McDonald characterized only having one recommendation as that was sadly that's the bad part, because in essence that is criticizing the work of the Auditor General. The Auditor General undertook, the Office of the Auditor General undertook their review, and chose to make one recommendation, and I think that's their prerogative. So I take exception to characterizing one recommendation as the bad part, or that sadly that's what happened. And I think we're being warned about the implications in a very serious way of not supporting the recommendations that are contained, or the recommendation that is contained within this report. And maybe that hasn't happened in the past 2.5 years, but it's happening now. So I think we need, I actually think, I mean, I don't know that we should be, that this shouldn't have a deeper study based on what the Auditor General has said.
MLA Taggart.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear. I think this, record will show that I have never at any time disrespected or discredited or whatever the Auditor General. I have great respect for the Auditor General. In this particular case, I disagree. And I clearly, previous governments have disagreed with that as well. So I disagree on this one, and I will vote no against it, but that in no way reflects the work of the Auditor General. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will just say that refusal to endorse any recommendations from the Auditor General's 2023 financial report, in my view, undermines the Auditor General's work and has implications beyond this particular vote at this particular committee. So I would urge the honourable members to think about that before they cast their vote. Is there any further commentary?
Call the question.
All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay.
Nay.
The motion is defeated. Nope. Now we'll move on to decisions from the December 6th meeting. It was agreed to make public the decisions from the December 6th in-camera meeting. This decision was not able to be put on the record at the December 13th or December 20th meeting. The following motion was passed, that the Subcommittee of Public Accounts shall meet following when the committee's regularly scheduled business has concluded. So does everyone, so I have just put that on the record. This was a motion, I think, that was moved by MLA McDonald, and it was about our subcommittee for scheduling, right? And so from now on, the subcommittee meets following the regularly scheduled meeting as a result of that motion. Okay, so that's now on the record. MLA Barkhouse.
Just repeat it one more time because I see a lot of puzzled looking faces.
Sure,
Thank
no
you.
problem. That the Subcommittee of Public Accounts shall meet following when the committee's regularly scheduled business has concluded. MLA McDonald.
And just because obviously one member's not here, and it doesn't mean it'll happen immediately, because sometimes it's the chair, it could happen 15 minutes later. That was discussed at that. I just want to bring that up because
there might be a 15-minute break in the
based on the chair's opinion, so thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Correspondence. We received correspondence from the Department of Environment and Climate Change, and this was information requested from the November 15th meeting. Is there any discussion on that particular piece of correspondence? Okay, so our next meeting date is January 17th, 2024, where the witness is the Department of Education and Early Childhood Development, and the topic is the Canada-Nova Scotia Child Care Agreement. If there is no further business, the meeting is adjourned.